Sometimes I find it helpful to sketch out my day as a way to take a look at how I'm spending my time, where I'm placing my attention, what I'm working on, and what I'm not. So in this video, I'm going to sketch out my typical workday, not to suggest that yours should look anything like mine, but more as a nudge for you to try out this activity for yourself. The first thing I do when I enter this office space is sit down with my coffee, grab a handful of books, and do some reading. I find reading to be a great kind of warm-up for the day ahead. A warm-up while I'm still kind of waking up. And I typically have 3 books that I'm reading. A novel that I start with, read a chapter or 2, then a spiritual book to get my mind and body feeling good, and then a nonfiction book. Right now, the novel I'm reading is Adulthood Writes by Octavia Butler. I've been kind of working through her entire catalog recently. In the realm of spirituality, I've been enjoying the work of Adyashanti. I really enjoyed Falling into Grace, and right now I'm reading The Direct Way. Shout out to Matt Church of Thought Leaders for recommending these books. And then the nonfiction book that I'm reading is High Conflict by Amanda Ripley. Shout out to Hank Green for recently highlighting the importance of this book. And one thing I like to pay attention to throughout my day is kind of the flow of energy. So with this as a warm-up and taking in some interesting ideas, I'm then ready to take on the first creative task of the day, which is to do what I'm doing right now. Record a sketched video to support other visual thinkers who are using drawings and diagrams to make sense of the world. I find it helpful to do this recording of a video before I open my computer, before I look at email or social media, before I kind of open myself up to the outside world and let all those potential distractions and other voices in. And it just feels good to get some meaningful work done really early in the workday. Since this is somewhat of a high energy output, I follow it up with more low energy work, including checking email, usually after I have edited the video I recorded, and around that time is when I publish that day's video as well. So this is kind of more the admin style of work, which is a nice change of pace from this creative output. And then after that, there are really just 2 more things that I do. I identify kind of a bigger long-term project to work on. This might be a book that I'm working on, or a course or workshop, or something with the website, or developing ideas for future videos. These are more long-term projects that won't get completed in a single day, but benefit from a daily push. And then another important component of the second half of my workday is to have some interactions with others. Sometimes that takes the form of a workshop that I'm hosting within Verbal to Visual, or perhaps a custom workshop that I'm hosting for an organization or an event, or maybe it's a podcast interview. Those conversations, those workshops are a nice balance to the primarily solitary work that exists in this range of the day, and it gives me the opportunity to explore the ideas that I'm developing about this world of visual thinking with others, to help them develop their skills, to hear how they're using them, that then often informs future videos and future projects. And depending on the timing, sometimes the sequencing of these 2 things are reversed, and from day to day it varies how much time I'm able to dedicate to one or the other of these. I do consider these chunks of my day to be kind of the big 3. On a good day, I'm able to do each of these 3 things, but I also acknowledge that this one right here, this is the one thing that if it's the only thing I get done that day, that will move the needle in my work. It's the one thing that I can do that kind of makes everything else easier, which is why I put it up front. So some of the overarching principles that I think about in designing my day, one is paying attention to the flow of energy. I think a helpful reference point in that realm is the book, The Power of Full Engagement, which I sketched out a visual summary of, and that has this general focus on, instead of managing your time, manage your energy. and allow for variations throughout the day in the intensity of your energy output and allow for recovery time, because as human beings, we're not able to maintain 100% energy output throughout the entirety of the time when you're awake. You need to allow for some fluctuations. And speaking of energy, at this point in my day, this is when I leave the office, go to the gym for some exercise before picking my kids up from school. Another thing that I try to pay attention to is high quality input in the form of the books that I'm reading at the start of the day, and even the articles or the videos or the things I choose to give attention to once I open myself up to the online world, and balancing that high quality input with high quality output. With this as the first piece of creative work, and then these two pieces later in the day. And then the last thing that I try to remind myself is that this will change. Sometimes I get caught in the trap of thinking that there's one perfect daily routine that once I establish will work for me forever. That's unrealistic because change is inevitable. External changes that maybe I don't have any control over, or internal changes. I might get bored with some aspect of this routine. At some point, I might identify a different one thing that will most support the work that I put out into the world. So giving yourself permission to adjust whatever your routine looks like, I think is important. So I encourage you to sketch out your own day, focusing perhaps on those chunks that you do have control over, where you get to decide where to place your attention and energy. And if you'd like support developing your visual thinking skills so that you can build out models like this, not just related to things like your daily routine, but also maybe summarizing the books that you're reading, processing the challenges you face in your work, or sharing important ideas with your colleagues or others in your life. The ability to sketch it out is a pretty versatile skill set, which is why I enjoy talking about it every day. For resources to support your own skill building, head on over to verbaltovisual.com. Thank you so much for watching. I wish you luck in establishing a routine that feels good to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Till then.